I'm an addiction psychiatrist. I actually became a doctor to help people, yet much of what I learned in medical school was wrong, from helping people change habits to addictions, and here's why. Have you heard of the positivity ratio? Just have 3 positive to every 1 negative emotion and you'll succeed in life. There was a paper published in 2005 by 2 researchers where they plugged daily emotion diaries from college students into a nonlinear fluid dynamics equation. Voila. Mathematical principles for human flourishing. This was widely taken up by the press, led to a best-selling book, yet in 2013 it couldn't be replicated and was debunked. So why was this so popular? Why were people so quick to jump on board? You know, it's great to have a mathematical formula for happiness, yet it wasn't based on sound science. So what can we believe? Well, ask anybody that's played the lottery. Do you have money in your pocket or not? Wanting to win isn't the same as actually winning. And for science, for we scientists, cash in our pocket is replication. So see if you believe this theory. There's a guy in the 1950s named B.F. Skinner. He was studying animal behavior. In fact, he found that he could train pigeons to win a cross-court shot in ping pong for a food reward. He came up with a theory, called it operant conditioning or reward-based learning. And what we think now is that this was actually set up as a survival mechanism to help us remember where food is and how to avoid danger. It has 3 elements: a trigger, a behavior, and a reward. So you see some food, you eat the food, and then your stomach sends this dopamine signal to your brain that says, remember what you ate and where you found it. In 2000, Eric Kandel got the Nobel Prize showing that this is evolutionarily conserved all the way back to the sea slug. So rock solid theory, replication, heavy replication. I learned about this in college, didn't think that much of it, yet when I was starting as an addiction psychiatrist, I was really struggling to understand my patients, whether they were struggling with alcohol or cocaine or heroin or whatever. And then I had this light bulb moment. I realized that this could actually explain so much more of behavior beyond classic addictions. For example, we're in the middle of an obesity epidemic. We learn to eat food to feel good, not when we're hungry, but when we're stressed or anxious. We're in the middle of an opioid epidemic. We learn to take pills to numb ourselves from physical and emotional pain. We're in the middle of a tech boom. We learn to look at cute pictures of puppies on Instagram when we're bored. In fact, social media is designed for those likes and retweets. Food is engineered to be addictive. So what do we do when we're addicted? Well, just control ourselves, right? That's what I learned in medical school. You want to lose weight? I actually learned a simple formula. Make sure you have more calories out than calories in. You know, just eat the salad instead of cake. You want to quit smoking? Well, just set a quit date for 2 weeks out. Tell your quit buddies you can get some support. And we'll give you some medications to help with withdrawal. And then quit, right? Well, it doesn't work that way. So why doesn't willpower work? Well, there's a part of our brain called the prefrontal cortex. This is the youngest and weakest part of our brain from an evolutionary perspective. It's the first that goes offline when we're stressed out, and that's where willpower is thought to be seated. So if we can't rely on this, what can we rely on? Well, reward-based learning, old and strong. Why not start there? Now, what if I told you that to tap into this process, all we needed was awareness? Well, it might seem a little strange. I actually gave a TED Talk on this a couple of years ago, and it ended up being the 4th most watched talk of the year. I don't think it was me, but it was the message. And this message was pretty simple, which was awareness trumps self-control. And by awareness, I mean paying attention to the results of our behaviors. So paying attention to the results of our behaviors, right? That's really critical. Now, there's a piece that you need to know about this. Remember, reward-based learning is based on rewards. It's not based on the behaviors themselves. Pigeons aren't particularly prone to playing ping pong, but they will play for food. So what do we need to know? There's a part of our brain called the orbitofrontal cortex, and it stores reward value. So for example, if I eat some milk chocolate, my brain's going to compare that to other things that I've eaten, like broccoli. And then it's going to set up that reward hierarchy. If I eat some dark chocolate, it's going to then compare those as well. Give this a second. Now, then my brain sets up this hierarchy that says, oh, I like, dark chocolate more than milk chocolate, more than I like broccoli. I think of the orbital frontal cortex as the BBO part of the brain. It's always looking for that bigger, better offer. Now, how does this fit with awareness? Well, what are we doing when we're doing habitual behaviors? We're not paying attention. So we bring awareness in. It helps our orbital frontal cortex get accurate and updated information. There we go. So is awareness actually enough to hack our brains into better health? This question led me to shift my career from molecular biology to cognitive neuroscience to forming a startup company to make app-based behavior change programs, specifically to ask this question, is awareness enough to change behavior? So what did we do? Well, we did something simple. We used mindfulness training and helped people pay attention to the results of their behavior. And what did we find? Pay attention when you're smoking. What happens? The reward value drops. Pay attention when you're stress eating. What happens? The reward value drops. So this helps our orbital frontal cortex get accurate information and see that these things aren't quite as rewarding, which then opens up this door for something better, that bigger, better offer. Now, what if I told you that awareness itself, and in particular this attitude of curiosity, that's enough. That's even that bigger, better offer. For example, here's somebody using one of our programs to work with anxiety. She said, when I first started the program, I didn't quite buy into the benefits of curiosity. Today, I felt a wave of panic, and instead of immediate dread or fear, my automatic response was, that's interesting. So you can see her brain is preferring curiosity to worry. It feels better. Now, examples are illustrative, but results are definitive. So we've gone on to do the studies. For example, in a study of obese and overweight women who received app-based mindfulness training, we got a 40% reduction in craving-related eating. In a study of anxious physicians, if this goes to the next slide, there we go. We got a 57% reduction in anxiety in folks who received app-based mindfulness training. We've gone on to study the brain regions that get activated when we get caught up in craving or caught up in anxiety. For example, the posterior cingulate cortex, and these same brain regions quiet down with mindfulness training. In a recent study, we actually brought people in who wanted to quit smoking. We showed them a bunch of smoking cues and activated their posterior cingulate cortex and measured that activity at baseline. We then randomized them to get mindfulness training or an active comparison group, and then brought them in a month later to see if changes in their brain activity could actually predict clinical outcomes. What did we find? We got a very significant correlation between a reduction in posterior cingulate activity and reduction in cigarette use. This was specific to the mindfulness training group. We even found that there was a dose-dependent relationship. The more modules they completed, the better they did. No correlation in the control group, even though they completed the same number of modules. So 3-to-1 sounded a little too good to be true, but the answer doesn't need to be complex to be true. It just needs to be true. Even better if we know why it's true, why something works. Well, we've known for a long time that habits, that everyday addictions, that classic addictions are actually formed through reward-based learning. We now know that awareness might actually help us hack into the system to help our brain see the relative lack of reward and become disenchanted with these old behaviors, and then find that bigger, better offer that might have been right in front of our noses all along. Our brains are actually really strong. We just need to know how they work, and we can harvest that strength. We can harness that power, and we can move from magical thinking to moving mountains. Thank you very much.